to be the best you can be, you have to be good at the mental game. And if you're not, it doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have, it doesn't matter what kind of sponsorship you get, it doesn't matter who picks you up, it doesn't matter if a factory ride picks you up. If you don't have it together up here, you can throw everything, you could have everything thrown at you, and it's going to be hard for you to put it together. Granted, it's going to be easier, better equipment, trainers, coaches, all those things play a part, but all those things can be external too. And our internal, what's going on internally is the problem. It's what's keeping us from finding the flow. And you know, in motocross, when I was growing up racing, we always talk about finding the flow. You know, have you ever thought about when you all talk about finding the flow, what that means? Have you ever watched a really fast racer out there, how effortless it looks? Not only does it look effortless, but it's smooth. Have you ever thought about how he's finding the flow, or she is finding the flow? You know what the flow is a byproduct of? The flow is used in many aspects, whether it's action sports or whatever. We can find the flow for public speaking. Flow is created from a deep focus, a focus that's almost euphoric. We actually block out everything in our life, and when we focus on what we're doing, and that focus just creates a warm, comfortable feeling, and we're just loving what we're doing. We're enjoying it, and everything's clicking right. That's what flow is. And in order to find flow, we have to have a good mental game. And some of us may find flow at different parts on the track, or maybe first moto we found some flow halfway through, then we got fatigued and the flow went away. Or some of us may not ever find flow. We just really struggle. We have to really overthink things, and we work really hard. That takes energy. So I want to talk about that today. I'm going to focus on the conscious mind. The conscious mind, we've been talking about it for a few days. I'm going to put a little different spin on it today. It's 102 degrees out here. But you know what? My power thinking says I'm alive. I'm talking to people I love. I'm sitting out here next to my 1993 Toyota Corolla, which is my daily driver. My wife's healthy and happy. I have great kids. They're all healthy. All of our kids are healthy. You know, that's power thinking. You know, life's good, right? I don't care if it's 102 degrees. I'm sitting here in the shade. There's people up on roofs right now roofing houses around me in 102 degree heat on a roof. So no matter how bad your situation is, there's always somebody in a worse position. So let that be a reminder when you find yourself complaining. How do we pay attention to the code that we're writing to ourselves? We pay attention through the conscious mind. The conscious mind, the strength of the conscious mind is its ability to focus. The subconscious does not do that. It doesn't have a focusing. Think of a camera, how you can focus in on a camera or a rifle scope. That happens in the conscious mind. The subconscious mind does not do that. The other thing the conscious mind does is it can imagine things. It can imagine things that are not real. Have you ever had trouble with a girlfriend or a boyfriend and imagined, your mind went nuts, you know, it was a bad breakup and you were imagining your girlfriend with a new guy, a new dude, or maybe you were imagining your boyfriend with a new girl? Isn't it crazy how our mind can create things that almost appear to be real? So our conscious mind is capable of imagination as well, which is great for visualization. You know, visualization's important to find flow, to find focus. The other thing the conscious mind will do is thoughts. We can think in our conscious mind. So how does all of that, what does all of that mean? What it means is we have a choice. The conscious mind provides our choice. If you're out there with a bad attitude, that is a choice. If you go out there and make bad decisions, that is a choice. If you're happy, that is a choice. Remember on the last two videos, I had a crossroads, I had a fork. You can either take the path of faith, which is gonna be hard, but it's going to get easy and lead to happiness. Or you could take the path to fear, and it's going to be easy, because our mind, it's easy to do the wrong thing. It's harder to do the right thing. I'm talking to each one of you right now. What is it? Sit and think about for a minute what you struggle with. Do you kind of struggle with a particular rider maybe on the circuit that you always bump into? Do you struggle with something somebody told you at one time, was talking a little trash on you, that's always kind of lingered on your mind? Do you struggle with rolling up to the gate? Do you struggle with envy or jealousy? Do you struggle maybe, do you have a struggle with a particular rider that maybe got a sponsor that you didn't? Block past you and you have a problem with him, and you have a problem with him every time you see him? What does that do? What does that thought do when you see that person? Or what does that thought do when you're jealous of another person, right? It creates a thought. Well, with our programming happens every day. And think of it like this. Let's simplify it. Our programming occurs, it writes the code to our programming on what we habitually think about, what we think about the most, right? There's things that you do repetitiously, and that becomes your code. That's your code in your subconscious mind. Just like programming your motocross bike. The last mechanic that programmed your bike in Thunder Valley in Denver, a mile high, okay, if that code's still in your bike when you're riding at sea level in California, think how much different your bike's gonna run. And it's a choice whether you change that code or not. If you go find a mechanic to reprogram your bike, that's a choice. But if you don't make that choice, then you continue to travel around in your moto van with your bike with a program in it that is not the right program for where you're riding. Do you see what I'm saying? Well, that's how our life is. We go around, we go through life, and we don't have an understanding of how all this works and how to use the natural tools we have. It doesn't take anything external, it's all internal. You know, if you're cool from the inside out. You can't wear the coolest stuff and have authentic cool. You can't have the fastest bike and be authentically cool. Authentically cool is not an external thing. It's not what you have. It's what's inside of you, and how you allocate and how you appropriate those gifts inside of you. You know, you're beautiful from the inside, or you're cool from the inside. So if you have the wrong program, what happens is when something occurs in your life, maybe you roll up to the gate and maybe you got hung up in the gate. So the next 7 races, you have this phobia about rolling up to the gate. Well, so what happens is, as you're rolling up to the gate, you're imagining yourself getting hung up in the gate again. Or maybe you're imagining yourself having a bad start. Well, so what happens next? What happens next is in your programming. What comes out of your subconscious mind? So what happens is the associated feeling or emotion comes up to meet that, and then that becomes what you deal with. The only way to overcome that is through your filter. You know, you ought to have a black flag coming up or a green flag coming up. If the emotion or feeling is good, everything is good. But if you imagine something, or you're thinking about something, or you're focusing on the wrong thing, then the associated thought's going to come up from your subconscious mind. You remember, it's in your program, because that's how you always deal with things. You see the same girl every week and she pisses you off. You see the same dude every week and he pisses you off because he has a brand new bike every year. It's the same kind of thinking. So what happens is those feelings and emotions come up and meet that thought you have in your conscious mind. So let's think about this. If that's the case, then, and you have a choice on what you think about, and you have a choice on what you imagine, and you have a choice on what you're focusing on, why not make the right one? And we do that by running every thought through a filter. We hold every thought captive. Is it good? Is it bad? That needs to happen really quick. It can't go on. That has to happen quick. But what happens is we need to think about it. And if it's wrong, if we're focusing on the wrong things, we need to change what we're focusing on. Because if we continue to focus on the wrong thing, then that bad emotion, that negative emotion associated with that negative feeling is going to come up and meet us, and that's going to take our peace away. Where am I going with all this? Where I'm going with all this is it affects everything in life. It affects your racing, it affects your relationships, it affects your day-to-day peace. Because if we don't have a handle on this, how can you roll up to the gate with a head full of crap, focusing on the wrong stuff, and be the best you can be? How? If you roll out of bed in the morning and you're focusing on the wrong things, how are you going to have a good day? If you roll up to the track and see a couple moto vans with people you don't like, and you don't deal with those thoughts, how are you going to have the best day you can? Think about that. It's really pretty simple. Green flag, black flag. Hold every thought captive. Above all things, guard your heart. Where do we go to battle at? Where's the battleground? Up here in our conscious mind. What are you thinking about? What are you focusing on? And what are you imagining? Is it good or is it bad? Simplify it. Do not overthink it. Is it good or is it bad? If you want to be the best at anything, you're going to have to focus on the right stuff. And the beauty in that, it's a choice. But it's not a choice if you just let your mind run out of control. If you cannot do that, how will you ever find the flow? Focusing comes down to blocking out the distractions and focusing on what it is you're doing, focusing on your goal, focusing on your racing, getting rid of all those bad images, those bad thoughts. So when you're focusing on what's right, you have good emotions coming up. You have good feelings coming up. Everything is working for you. Think about that. It's a choice. It's a choice in your relationship. It's a choice in your job. It's a choice in your racing. Take a stand on your life. This is your life. Your time is now. It's a choice. If anybody out there wants a sticker, direct messages on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. We'd love to send these stickers to you. They have meaning to them. They have a lot of meaning to them. That's where your conscience mind is, right there. That's where the battleground is. Direct messages. Send us a message on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. We'll send you, tell us what color you want. We appreciate all of you. We love you guys. We want you to succeed and be the best you can be. Thanks a lot for sharing our videos. Stay tuned for the next one.